What's up, y'all? So, I believe that we are entering into some interesting territory with this podcast. I was on a networking call the other day, and the most phenomenal thing happened. I was just sitting there listening to what people had to say and the kind of the conversations going back and forth, when all of a sudden I received a message on LinkedIn Messenger. And it said, "Hey, we're both on the call today, so I thought that I would let you know how much I really enjoy your podcast." And this gentleman, his name is Jordan Silverman, and I'd seen him on the call, and he's a CEO of a piece of tech that's helping restaurants, and I was absolutely floored. It was great. It's one of those moments where I go, okay, so I'm reaching some people, and the feedback is good. So he and I got to chatting, and we came to the idea that, gosh, this piece of software that he's working on called Starfish is a piece of AI technology that could probably help some restaurants. And that's what I'm here to do. So let's get him on there. So we figured it out and went back and forth, found some dates, and I think you're going to find somebody who is just passionate about helping restaurants, and that really comes through in the conversation. And I think that it was pretty neat to meet a guy who admittedly said, I was a line cook once upon a time and I wasn't very good at it, but here's what I'm good at." So um, a relationship has been forged, and I think that um, I think you're really going to enjoy this. So here we go. You're listening to the Culinary Mechanic podcast. I'm your host, Simon Zatyrka, the founder of Culinary Mechanic, a restaurant advisory firm focused on making kitchens and restaurants run like well-oiled machines. With this podcast, we aim to bring you insights, strategies, tools, and tactics, and sometimes just good old advice and stories that are going to help you run your restaurant better. I hope you dig it, because honestly, it's a real labor of love. One thing you could do that would help me a whole lot is to go anywhere that you listen to podcasts and leave a 5-star review. That'll help get the word out so that more people will hear this podcast, and hopefully we can help more restaurants run just a little better. Now please, enjoy the show. Today I am joined by Jordan Silverman of Starfish. Jordan, welcome, man.
Thanks, Simon. It feels great to be here. I'm a big fan of the podcast, so it's quite the honor to be here.
Man, now you've made my week for the second week in a row, because you and I first kind of connected over you sending me a message just telling me that you dug it. So I really appreciate that. This is truly a labor of love for me, and it's a whole lot of fun too. So um, I have found that there is no need for pretense. So I'm going to say, let's press the gas and get this machine started, and say, how did you find yourself adjacent to, in the restaurant industry, around the restaurant industry? How did that happen?
Totally by accident. This was not like a pre-planned thing, totally by accident. When I was in college, like a lot of kids, I worked my summers in kitchens. I was line cook, grill guy, everything.
Awesome.
And at the time, I thought I was a pretty good employee. I showed up for work on time every day. I worked somewhat hard. I left late when needed. And looking back, I was a fucking terrible employee. I was not good. I had no desire to learn the skills. I had no desire to go above and beyond. It was a straight job for me. So fast forward, and I found myself in software tech. So I was doing software sales, software customer success, and I had an opportunity to join a early stage startup called MarketMan. And what MarketMan did is help restaurants lower their waste, track their cost of goods, build recipes, back of house software.
Right.
And it really resonated with me because when I was a line cook, we used to get in a ton of trouble when our inventory counts were off because we had to do those for our stations. And we used to have so much waste. We used to 86 items all the time, and we did everything on pen and paper. So the
Yeah.
fact that a software existed, I was just like, I actually can resonate with this problem. I know I'm not good at actually working in a restaurant. Let me see if I can actually work on the tech side of a restaurant.
Nice.
And it was just an amazing experience. I was there for 7 years. helped run the customer success post-sales team. We grew tremendously as I went, and that's really kind of like my big foray into restaurants and hospitality. Now I find myself running Starfish, which is also in restaurant and hospitality. So I just love the intersection of restaurants and technology. That's really where I found my home.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. I can look back into my past and go, God, that was not how you ran a restaurant.
Mm.
I mean, I can do that a lot. I can also turn around and go, I learned some lessons, and oh, I'm a young sous chef, and now I'm a chef, and what do I want to do better, or what did that guy fuck up that I never want to do? So I love that it's pretty amazing to me and awesome that you're able to look back and go, I wasn't a good employee. I mean, life is life. I think that you can learn a lot from your own actions, but also like how that worked, right? Um, so obviously there's like some on the ground knowledge. I think that's great because you can look at it and go, yeah, okay, I can see the problems that can be solved with something like Market Man, and they're actually doing fairly well in the market, right? Like
Absolutely.
I had a
Yeah.
client last year who adopted Market Man, and as we got going, they had some questions, and we got through it, and it's pretty good. Um, but I'd love to hear like what is the evolution from customer success to you're the founder, the CEO of Starfish. Like how I don't like pardon my language, but how the fuck does that happen? Awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So in college, after I was working in the kitchens, I started my first business. We did advertising in public bathrooms. So think like
Okay.
printed toilet paper, printed paper towels, ads in dispensers, all that kind of stuff. Had a good run, ran it for like 4 years. When I folded that company, I didn't know what I wanted to do next, but I was like, I like talking to people. I like building relationships. I think that's what like drew me to hospitality in the first place. Let me get into sales. And I realized a good salesperson, when you're selling technology, you're not really building deep relationships. You're showing features and benefits and selling, but then you're handing it off to another person to manage the relationship long term.
Right.
So I transitioned from sales to post sales, and I was really lucky my time at Market Man. I mean, I was employee 7 when I left. We were 120 people. I was running a pretty big team. And what kind of pushed me towards Starfish is we had the customers at MarketMan ask us the same questions over and over again. All right, I see my cost of goods went up by 2%. What do I do now? My variance is at 5%. What now? My waste is increasing. How do I impact that? And what I found was customers have so much data. Restaurants have so much data. POS, inventory, labor, accounting, so much data. But going through that data is A, really hard, and B,
Yeah.
I'm consuming.
Yeah.
And when I was running my first business, I realized it's amazing as a small business owner, whether it's a restaurant or something else, how much time you find yourself not with guests, not with team, but sitting behind a computer
Yep.
and trying to analyze the business and working on the business versus in, right? So what I'm really trying hard here with Starfish is to build something that can A, take you back out of the computer and in front of guests, and B, can take away that mundane task of data financial analysis and really help answer those questions of what happened, so what do I do now?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I've asked myself that question a lot. What the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can relate. I managed multiple chefs for a time, and we would get to a place of like, hey man, your food cost is a full percent high. What the hell is going on? I don't know, chef. And it was like, okay, like break out the nuts and the bolts. Like how are we receiving it? Right. And I don't know how granular you're going, but for me, it was like, A, how did it come into the building? Did I get all 25 pounds of tomatoes that I paid for? Or is the guy going, oh, I really like those customers, not this customer, so I'm dumping a third of the case and charging you for the full case. Um, and then like, how am I storing it? Am I rotating? All those little things. But I think that there's a ton of I think there's a ton of tasks that we you can that can be big, but also kind of have to be identified, like around around variances, around all those things. So I think it's great that what you're doing. So, I mean, all right, let's get into something bigger. Like, what are the big challenges you're finding with Starfish? But also, I guess I want to say, what are those big challenges with relation to the people that you're looking to bring your potential customers and or your current clients slash customers? What
Yeah.
are those obstacles?
So first thing, like for what you just said, I had an advisor tell me the other week that for a restaurant, the profit is in the pennies.
Yeah,
And I think like that it just rang so true to me, right? Like everyone knows how to make the big things. The best way to get your restaurant more profitable short term is to cut staff. Is that what you should do? Absolutely not. But it's really easy to pretend like you're a more profitable restaurant by jacking up prices short term or cutting staff. But if you really want to build the proper foundation, you gotta look in the nooks and crannies, right? Like that's where the overspending's happening. That's really what we need to focus on. So I think that just like really rang true with what you were just saying of being as profitable as possible in every single aspect is important.
you know, yeah. I mean, I think I pushed my chefs to only order a certain amount, and they'd be like, "Oh, but," I'm like, "But you get down to two, and you order that
Mm-hmm.
tonight, and it comes in tomorrow, and A, it's fresh, and B, some knucklehead line cook is not going to go, oh, we got a bunch, right? Like there's a culture of excess in in
Yes.
restaurants, um, where like if you have so much, nobody values what it is, right? And so it isn't until you make them hurt just a little bit and go, oh, this is all I got for tonight, and I want to look good for myself and for my team and for my chef, and ultimately for the restaurant, right? I want to make sure that I have what I need, and I want to make sure that, but I guess also like need what I have, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So okay, so pennies are gold,
Yeah.
right? Because they lead to dollars.
Yep.
What are the things that you're seeing? I mean, it's patterns, in my opinion, right? All day long, it's
Yeah.
patterns. So what are the
Yep.
patterns that are like that just keep coming up to you going, huh, this is going to fuel Starfish for the next whatever, whether it be another feature or another whatever, another solution.
Yeah. So I think we're trying to write the like P&L process that exists today. And like what that process looks like for the majority of customers is you get all your invoices, paper invoices still. You either manually type them in, you scan them into a system, then your bookkeeper basically takes all this data, forms a P&L, and then I don't know what, Simon, like 15, 20 days, maybe if you're really good, 10 days after the month closes,
Man,
you
if I'm
get
getting
that
my P&L
P&L.
15 days, I just lost, right?
Like,
I
but like
just
that's my
lost, like,
point though, right? Like, but that's how it works today. Is like the
yeah.
majority of people 10, 15, 20 days after the month, then they're just getting an Excel from their bookkeeper saying, here's your P&L. Some companies got like 15, 20, 30 pages of documents. No one's reading through that. So what we're trying to do is just simplify the process. So the way that Starfish works is we are analyzing the data and exactly like you said, looking for patterns year over year, period over period, week over week, location versus location. We're analyzing those patterns, giving you simple reporting, and then the output for us are tasks. The data is overwhelming. So what we're really trying to focus on is every week, what are one, two, three things that you can and should focus on
Right.
to go lower your costs. So that's what we're trying to do is take all of this data and on a weekly basis say, here are the actions you can take, here's why you should take them, and then here's the actual dollar impact that it might have on your business.
Um, are you feeling like, I mean, I hear just sort of the birds chirping, whether it's on social media or talking, the networking group that you and I are a part of. I just hear like raise prices. Oh my God. But also I hear a ton about just like minimum wages going up. It's going up to $20 if you here in Washington State if you are above 500 employees. You get a $2 break if you're smaller than that, but that's a lot of like
Yeah.
so what are you seeing? I mean, how's that working? Like, are you just seeing like labor costs they just keep going up?
We're absolutely seeing labor costs go up. So our clients are definitely seeing labor costs go up. Our clients are also seeing third party delivery become a bigger piece of the sales pie. So the thing I'll say on like price increases is there seems to be, and I'm not an expert, but from what I can tell from our clients, there seems to be more like price elasticity. Customers are willing to pay more for delivery than they are for like the actual hospitality experience at your restaurant,
Crazy.
which seems really counterintuitive to me, but that's what it seems like. And that's what the data shows us.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by the grind of running your kitchen? Imagine, kitchen's humming along, people are on task, and you have the time to be creative and still make it home to see your family. Well, the Culinary Mechanic is here with the strategies, tools, and tactics to help you be the leader everybody wants to work with. If you'd like to find out more about how Culinary Mechanic can help you run your restaurant like a well-oiled machine, I invite you to use the link in the show notes to book a 30-minute free consultation call.
I got a quote for you on that one. So I got a buddy, and he is in the process of he has two taquerias here in Seattle, and he's about to open up his third. Okay. And I'm sitting talking to him, and I was like, so what percentage of your sales uh is is off premise, whether that's come and pick it up or
Yep.
delivery? And he goes, well, up until last year, it was about 20%. And I'm like, okay. And like, what about now? He goes, 35%. And I'm also sitting there with another friend who's working with him. And I'll just tell you that I'm in my early 50s and my buddy is a couple of years older than me. But this guy who runs the company is 36, 37.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm going to tell you why you don't understand what you're hearing. And I said, why? He goes, because you think of food you think of food plus delivery. He points across the street to a local private university called Seattle University. And he says, these fucking people think that delivery is part of the price and it doesn't matter to them. He says, that's why. He goes, and my goal is to get to 50% so that I don't have to clean this fucking place as much. And I was like, okay. So you got a goal in mind, right? We sat down after that and started working on his catering program so that he
Yeah.
can sell large batch things. He's got this thing called a taco box. It's like a taco bar in a box with deli cups, and like you open the thing and there's tacos and
Really
then all
cool.
this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's branded with his logo, which is a caricature of his father, because the taqueria is named after his dad, straight out of Mexico, right?
Awesome.
Anyway, all of that to say, like, it's changing.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I was like, I never thought of it that way,
Yeah.
but like, oh yeah, that's just the cost.
And that's the hard part, like for restaurants. And that's kind of why like we're so excited about Starfish because labor is increasing,
Yeah.
food costs are increasing. So we can talk all we want about the value of prime cost and what prime cost should be, but it's probably 40 to 60% of your cost somewhere in there. Those two things are just going to keep increasing.
Yeah. Well, I will say that if you're at 40, I want to be your friend. like
Yep.
seriously, I want to be your friend,
Yeah.
and I want to learn what you're doing, because I see a lot of folks at 63, 64. My last company, we had 7 restaurants, and if we had a restaurant dip below 60, they got like gold stars, they got a raffle ticket, something, man, because
Yeah.
it's tough. you
Yeah,
know?
but that's hard, right? Because then if you think like, all right, I'm in a major metropolitan city, that means like 5 to 7% usually of rent might be going of sales might be going to rent. Like it adds up pretty freaking
That's,
quickly.
yeah. Yeah, I mean there's a video out there somewhere on social media where a guy breaks down the cost of a BLT versus what he needs to basically earn in a year to break even. He's like, 1.5 million gets me nothing.
Yeah.
1.5 million in sales in my little restaurant makes me zero profit. He goes, my employees get paid, but and my vendors get paid, but that's it. And it's like,
A
huh,
million freaking dollars.
yeah,
You and I both know the majority of restaurants would kill to do $1 million.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a friend, friend slash colleague, and she runs a pizzeria, and it's funny, she calls herself a small guy, right? She's at 2.5 million
Awesome.
in pizza, meatball Italian style food,
Yeah.
and a lot of beer. She doesn't sell a lot of liquor, but a lot of beer. Sells some liquor.
And like pizza's a great business.
Yeah,
Much better margin than most restaurants.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. I think. I mean, we could probably talk about business models and ways
Yeah.
to go for hours. It's not necessarily the the easiest conversation. I think I really do like the fact that you're giving some folks things because I think that it's like, where do I start? How do I dig into this problem? I look forward to seeing kind of what as time goes by, what other like what do those tasks look like, right?
Yeah.
Um, because I think that there's definitely things to be done around like well, there's things to be done around systems that help you create, that just sort of take out guesswork, and I think that again, going down to a granular level, I think that anybody who's thinking about portioning better before it ever goes out of the kitchen is going to have a better time, right? Anybody that's thinking about how they can like save time in their inventory and be more precise because they set up their store, like that's non-sexy stuff. Nobody wants to talk about inventory setup, but I'm here to tell you, like, just the way you're trying to save people time to get back into the kitchen or get back out on the floor and interact with whether it's cooks or guests. I'm a firm believer of like, hey man, like you got 35 little bottles of spices and nobody ever keeps them in the same order and alphabetizing sucks. So how about this? Let's number the spice bottles in the
Yeah.
same order that they are on the inventory sheet. Right? And
Save time.
some people look at me
Invest
and
an
go,
hour
"What are
to
you
save
talking about?"
15, 20 minutes every time.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. And it's the easiest thing in the world. I think the other one is like it's that. It's like how do you do the mundane tasks, but that also yield you like okay, you can do a more concise inventory because you're not having to rearrange and where's that? Oh, that, and then because as you do, I remember doing my spice shelf and four people would come and say, "Hey chef, damn it. What was the paprika? Oh, it was 0.6. What was it?
Yep.
Versus paprikas, it's like, okay, cardamom, down, down, all those different spices down the line, and you're just able to go because at the end of the day, there's increased cognition in pattern, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
um
Absolutely.
gosh, fun conversations. I've got a recent obsession around daily life and daily like productivity, so that I've been starting to ask people, and that is the concept of sort of winning your day. So I guess I would ask you, Jordan Silverman, like what is it what is there it is, what it does win your day mean to you, and I don't know, give us one or two examples of things that you do as the CEO of a tech startup to win your day.
I love this question. I think about it a lot because Simon, like when you're starting a business, there's
Yeah.
so many things to do that like having analysis paralysis is so easy. So you really have to plan and focus. So I'm I'm as type A as they come. I'm a little crazy. I plan my day by the hour. So I know exactly what I'm doing hour by hour the day before. So like when I wrap up my day today, I will write down on my calendar every single hour for tomorrow and what I need to achieve. On the business side, I love the question of winning the day. I've been trying hard though to not win the day, but to win every hour. And it sounds a little weird, but I find that as long as I'm having more good hours than bad hours, that equals winning the day.
Okay.
Because I'm always gonna like if I end the day with something disappointing or bad, that's what kind of reflects did I have a good day on me. So that's why I'm trying to focus hour by hour because I don't want to have like recency bias of like this is how I ended the day, this is what the day was like. Our goal here is two things. Like I focus on two things. Number one. Number one, are my existing customers saving money?
Okay.
And number two, are we gaining momentum to signing new customers? Those are our two focuses.
Totally.
And the second one has changed for me in the last couple of weeks because I think if you had asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have told you number one, still happy, successful customers saving them money. And then I would have said number two is, are we closing and signing more customers? But as I go, it's more about the momentum and that we're moving in the right direction and less about the direct results.
Yeah. Yeah. That was your quote last week. It was focus on momentum, not results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it took me a while to really think that because I'm impatient. My wife is a freaking saint. I'm impatient. Like I'm tough. And I would have days where like I would have amazing conversations, but it's not over the finish line yet. You know what I mean? And I think like taking a step back and really understanding as long as things are moving in the right direction, as long as we're making progress, as long as we're further along today than we were yesterday, that's what winning the day is about. Did we progress a little bit more today than we did the day before?
Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. You know, it's funny. The concept of win the day, it really used to be within the constructs of my work.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that as I definitely get older, um, I now have realized that there are days where winning the day means I get home, right? Or I finish work the time I say I'm going to finish work, right? And so it's interesting, you know, it's I remember being in my 20s and then in my 30s and 40s, and the 50s are shaping themselves out right now. But it's that interesting thing of like in my 30s and 40s, I started to go, how do I like keep my promise to my wife when I say I'm going to get home at 6, that I'm at home at 6? Because it's
Yeah.
not easy, right? I
Oh,
mean, running restaurants, running a tech startup, whatever it is. But I think that that's why it's become such a, like I say, it's kind of become an obsession. It's because I'm starting to think about it every day, going, huh. And how does this relate to your ability to be productive, your ability to find the solutions that you need for your business, right? Like I almost think that like we all have to go back and relearn how to prioritize better.
I
And
I
and
struggle with it.
relearn what prioritize means.
I struggle with it because I have a young daughter. She's almost 2 now.
Oh wow.
And I think a lot about it in the sense of like, I'm building something, and that takes a tremendous amount of time and effort and mind share more than anything else, right? Like, I never stop thinking about it. But how can I like not look at my phone for a few hours every day? How can I turn off my brain and how can I be like fully present with her?
No,
It's something that like is also super important to me
right.
because it's not easy. And like it's
Uh,
exactly like you're talking about. Getting home on time, like doing what you're supposed to do, being a role model. Like it's hard, but it's the most important thing. Like work doesn't matter compared to
I watch from my perspective, I watch so many chefs cash in their life. whether it's 1, 2,
Yeah.
3 marriages on one chef to I know one guy who I think he took his divorce really bad and he took it out on his liver, you know.
Mm, I
You know what
got
I
it.
mean? Like
I get
he
it. I get it.
just, he spent probably 10, 15 years punishing himself for the things that he did in that first marriage and never got me remarried. And he's a little healthier now, but like,
Yeah.
it's like, gosh, how do you win your
Yeah.
day? Like how do you do that? So I don't know. I
It,
think it's a good conversation. I think it's a good thing for us all to ask ourselves. So
if you're not if you're not happy, what's the point of work? Like
yeah,
if your personal life isn't good and you're not having fun, like why work? You work to enjoy life.
right. And I think that as someone that's a little bit older than you,
Yeah.
that is one of those things where you need to be able to say that there's changing priorities, right? Because
Yeah.
There better be.
my wife just said there better be. But not only changing priorities, but like we are as generations kind of go, like there's lots of talk about Gen X and the boomers and the things you had to do to earn a living were just almost set in stone. And now as
Yeah.
we go forward and there's millennials and Gen Zs, those priorities are changing. And they definitely, and some guys and gals like myself are going, no, fuck you, I don't want to change. And others are going, oh wait, I don't have a choice, right? I definitely, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have been in the first category of no, fuck no, this is how it is. But now I'm really looking around going, they're not wrong, right?
Mm,
They're not wrong.
yep.
And there's a lot of them, and like they're the ones who've got to do the work. So if you want the work done, you may have to augment. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
change.
But that's how it's always been.
Yeah, hate those words. That's how it's always been, and I think those are like some of the dirtiest words that we can say right now because things have got to change.
Hmm.
And I'm older than you are, so I'm fighting it more probably. Not really though.
All right, well, Jordan, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate some interesting context, some fun things. I look forward to seeing what Starfish is doing and continues to do. I know that there's a lot of restaurants out there that could definitely use your help and as far as like just trying to understand what the hell do I do now. So cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you
coming and
for
playing the
having me.
sandbox, man.
Oh man, thanks for having me. As I said at the beginning of the show, I love the podcast. It's been awesome conversation, awesome to be here, and I'm super excited to see what you're going to build as well. It's going to be an exciting journey for both of us.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what it all becomes. So,
Yeah.
thank you very much, and have a great one.